What's up, people? Today I want to do a little bit of a spoiler session and talk about some spoilers that have to do with Thor Ragnarok coming up next. So I wanted to do a spoiler talk about Thor Ragnarok just because of the fact that there are a lot of things that actually changed for the character of Thor, and to be honest, I don't think that Marvel is going to actually stick with it. So I'm going to do a quick recap of all the important things that happened to Thor in this movie, and then I will tell you what things that I feel like they're going to actually stick to and what things that they aren't going to stick to. So right off the rip, when Hela meets Thor and Loki, Hela destroys Thor's hammer. And they've done this in the comic book before, and they've always brought back the hammer, and I kind of feel like it is really interesting for this movie, and it says a lot for what this movie actually wants to be about. This movie wants to strip Thor down to his basic level and build him up again to show Thor, hey, that hammer didn't make you powerful, but you made yourself powerful. That hammer just brought it out of you, and that power was still inside of you, you know? It's a good message to have, but at the same point in time, I do not think that Marvel is actually going to stick with this. The comic books didn't stick with it, so I don't think that Marvel will actually stick with it in their cinematic universe. So I'm going to say no, they are not going to stick with this. Thor will get a new hammer. And then Hela goes to Asgard and kills the Warriors 3. Now, this is interesting, and I'm going to have a lot to say about this just because, well, number one, we actually see them die here. Hela kills them, with the exception of Sif. Sif, Jamie Alexander, was not actually in this movie, and that might be telling, just because, you know, they could bring her back at a later point in time. But at the same point in time, they actually do come up with a replacement for Sif, so maybe if Jamie Alexander can't free up some time to actually join them in the next Thor film, if there will be one, then, hey, they have this new chick, and you know what? The new chick really seems a lot like Jamie Alexander. They're pretty interchangeable in their characters, so maybe that's what Marvel is actually thinking here. But I'm going to say yes, the Warriors 3 are dead, and Lady Sif, maybe. And then it's kind of just a funny conversation to bring up. Thor actually gets his hair cut by Stan Lee in this movie, and you know, I don't feel like they are actually going to stick to this haircut for Thor. I feel like they like the blonde lady locks for Thor. So no, they are not going to stick to this, I'm telling you. Either next time we see Thor or the time after that, he will have those blonde lady locks back, I am telling you. The next thing I want to bring up is the whole situation between Bruce Banner and Black Widow. You know, they had kind of a Beauty and the Beast love story in Age of Ultron, and even though I wasn't that fond of the end result, I kind of went with it. You know, some people did, some people didn't. And I feel like they're kind of feeling this out for later movies, but they actually reference it here, and Banner says it can never happen and they can never be together. So do you think that they are actually going to play this up and get together? Personally, I think that they are feeling this one out, but I will say no. They are going to drop this because most people don't like it, and they are just going to feel it out and say, let's back off this. Just like they backed off the whole Thor has premonitions and that whole thing that happened in Age of Ultron. And going back to that, there is some things that happened in Age of Ultron that they actually stuck to here, like that whole psychic link between Heimdall and Thor. They have these like yellow eyes. They can see what each other is seeing and like communicate with each other towards the end of Ragnarok. It's a weird development that, me personally, I'm not big into Thor comic books, but I've never seen it in the comic books that I've read with Thor in it. You know, it's weird for me, but I did go with it in Ragnarok. I don't know if they try to play it up more. Will I go with it more? And you know what? For that, I'm going to say that they are actually going to drop this. But I am interested to know exactly what you guys think that this actually was, because they didn't really explain it. They just made it happen in this movie and then dropped it. I feel like they could explore it, but I don't think they will. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the destruction of Asgard. Now, this is something that has actually happened in the comic books before, and they have recreated Asgard. So I actually do think that they are actually going to stick with this and recreate Asgard, only closer to Earth. You know, that's what they did in the comic book. I feel like that's what they're going to do here. It's a very interesting thing to see, and I can't wait to actually see it. So that's it, guys. That's what I had to say about Thor Ragnarok and the spoilers. I definitely felt like this was an excellent movie, but at the same point in time, the thing that I liked about it the least is I don't think that they are actually going to stick with the stuff that happens in this movie, because I like this movie so much, I want to see it carried over, and I don't know if all of it will. Comment below. I want to know if you guys think that they are actually going to stick with these points that I mentioned in this video, because I am really interested in having a conversation about it. I feel like this is one of the more eventful Marvel films, despite the fact that it has that jokey tone that it has. I think that this movie actually really changed things for Thor that I really like. I like the direction that he's in. And people, I am going to do the reviews for the Blu-rays of the Halloween movies that I reviewed, and make sure you subscribe, because after that I'm going to be getting into DC leading up to the Justice League, and you won't want to miss that. So subscribe so you can know when those videos come out, because I'm going to be having them out for you guys real damn soon. I thank all of you for watching. You guys are great, and I will see all of you next time.